Welcome back to the ultimate 10-step guide for first-time homebuyers. Today, I'm going to share with you the internet sleuthing insider tips, the websites, and the professional hacks that you can use online to do a CIA, FBI level background check on the neighborhoods and the homes that you want to explore. Let's go.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
What is happening, homies? David Sidoni back with you, and we're doing step 8 today. Using the internet to research neighborhoods and homes. The Deluxe Professional Deep Dive Super Internet Stalker Edition. And this year, I've got some new and exciting brand new tech tips for 26 and 27. Now, for some of you out there, this internet sleuthing, it can be, well, maybe it's super addictive for you. And that's why I made this step 8. I didn't even want to approach this rabbit hole of research until you had several steps already started. So make sure you stay focused, stay on target, complete steps 1 through 7, and then you can add this to your parallel planning. Keep in order, keep that cart behind the horse. Unicorn partnerships, the big 3, credit score, debt, and savings, all that stuff comes first. Once you got all that set up, well, let's get into the fun stuff. Here's how to use the internet in the most effective and comprehensive way when you're researching potential neighborhoods and homes. The way you do it is a 3-step process if you want to research online the way the pros do. 1, your realtor's going to set up a basic custom search for you, and that's going to be on the Realtor MLS. I know there's a ton of other sites out there with lots of information, but this is pro-level searching because all the public sites that you find out there, Zillow, Redfin, Homes.com, Realtor.com, all those, they grab all the information from your local realtor's MLS, the multiple listing service. The search that gets set up by your realtor, that's giving you all the information directly from the source material. And then number 2, you're going to use the websites and advanced investigative tips that I share in this episode to learn about neighborhoods and homes. And then number 3, take any information you learned and have your unicorn team evaluate and verify every piece of information. So as you can see in those steps, like all things in your first-time home purchase, you really shouldn't do any of this alone. The best neighborhood and home research results come from a team effort that can start months, even a year before you're actually ready to start writing offers. And that team effort's between you and your unicorn realtor and your lender. So let's get after it. We're going to turn your fantasy Zillow daydream scrolling into professional neighborhood and home internet research and evaluation. And you know what's cool? You can do this by yourself in your underwear with your laptop. Now, I know realtors do that all the time, at least they tell me about it. But to make sure that you're doing your research the way the pros do, before I begin, I want to remind you, since I don't know you and you're listening to this right now, if there have ever been any updates to the websites that I mentioned today, make sure to check the dates because I'm recording this, the middle of 2026. And websites and dates and updates, all that stuff on the internet, it changes and updates all the time. And sometimes some of the things I mentioned, well, those websites actually disappear. And here's another big overall tip. The internet was created by humans. And all the neighborhood and home attributes and the adjectives that you see, even if they're using really definitive words, everything is a subjective opinion. Never put faith in subjective adjectives that describe any home or neighborhood because your version or definition of things like safe or sketchy neighborhood or quiet or nosy or need some TLC versus no, that's a total fixer-upper. That might not match the person who wrote that thing on the internet, who described what you're looking at online. Take nothing for granted and believe nothing without verification. I mean, think about it. I don't know how you grew up. What's your quiet versus quiet for the person who is describing a neighborhood? And make sure that you compare the way that you define things based on the average description online and maybe what your difference is. Make sure you share that with your realtor so that you and your team can start speaking the same language. So today I'm going to start with the neighborhood researching super tips. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to get super spy level when you're looking at very specific addresses and homes. Most people, what they do is they start and end their research on the big public real estate sites. The ones like Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, Homes.com, Trulia. And you know what? That's a great start. And I'm going to show you how to use them more effectively. And more importantly, I'm also going to share with you the lesser known sites that give you the more detailed and accurate information. And here's a pro tip warning about Zillow and the rest of them. Think of them like a casino. They're psychologically orchestrated and designed to take your money. So go ahead, go on there, enjoy the fun, use the technology. Just remember always why that website was built. They're not there to educate and inform. They were built to make profits for their shareholders. Zillow, Redfin, Homes.com, all of them. They've spent billions. That was with a B, billions, making these sites. And they made them slick, easy, and addictive on purpose. They're user-friendly playgrounds. It's a great place for you to gather information, but they are god-awful, terrible places for you to get your realtor or your lender or any professional that's going to help you with your home buying process. These sites are for information only. Know their business model. They spent billions making them the best user interface with beautiful maps, great school information, neighborhood data, recent sales, listing histories, and endless photos and video tours. That's for one reason, because they want you to stay on their sites with one profit-driven mission to get you to click on one of those shiny buttons that says, looks nice, huh? Ask a question, contact an agent, schedule a tour, or get pre-approved. Zillow had 2.3 billion visits in the first 3 months of 2026. And what's crazy is last year, America only sold less than 5 million homes, but 2.3 million visitors in 3 months. Zillow and all the other public sites, they do not need every visitor that comes there to buy a home. What they're trying to do is just get a fraction of that gigantic audience that they've lured in to click into their agent and lender recommendations. And they tell their shareholders that they have the best technology to capture you. Yes, I used air quotes there because that was their words, not mine. Captured you. And then they make their profits by selling you, your information, your question that you want to ask. They sell that to any realtor or lender that literally pays them to be recommended as an area expert or a top lender. Their recommended pros are not vetted in any way. Well, one way, just to make sure that their credit card goes through. It's a pay-for-play world. Realtors and lenders pay to be recommended by the big sites. That's it. They're not the most experienced. They're not the strongest first-time homebuyer specialists. I mean, think about it. You don't pay to use those sites, do you? So somebody has to. Yeah, the realtors and the lenders are the real customers of Zillow and all the rest. And they're spending billions to own the internet and then capture you and sell you to any rando realtor or lender that's going to make them profits. So now that you know that, now go out there and use the hell out of these sites. Explore every map, compare recent sales, study neighborhoods, save listings, learn what you like and what you don't like. Fine, use and abuse all of it. Just don't ever hire your pros there. It's a base of information for your knowledge. And then you can use the insider sources that I'm going to share with you today, plus your unicorn team's expertise. And that's how you're going to get the real data, the accurate information with no sales pitch. I like to say use Zillow like a tool because, yes, in many ways, Zillow is an absolute tool. Do not let Zillow use you like a payday for their real customers, the realtors and lenders who pay to be recommended. And one quick side note, never use a Zestimate or any other automated home value price estimate tool on the internet as an accurate value. All of these are just computer generated. It's a starting point. It is totally not an appraisal and absolutely not a professional price analysis. Okay, here are the sites where you can do some deep research to scout neighborhoods. Neighborhood Scout, Street Advisor, City-Data, Home Fair, and Area Vibes and HAR, H-A-R. Check out those sites, do your own research. In the past couple of years, I've had lots of listeners that have given me really great reviews for niche.com, and I checked it out. Niche takes public data, and then it combines it with real life feedback. And last time I checked, it was over 100 million reviews and surveys from actual residents who live in that area. And here are some other great resources: Walk Score, Bike Score, and Transit Score. These are sites that they score addresses. You can punch it in there and you can get a score from 1 to 100 for walking, biking, or transit. There's another one that just popped up this year on homes.com called Sound Score. I don't have any concrete on this one's validity, which actually segues into a really good point on all these sites. Remember, they're using the adjectives and scores as objective opinions, but it's really subjective. Your definition might vary from theirs. Even a score, that is an opinion, and it might not be yours. So use all the information that you find on these sites to create questions, not to make decisions for you. All those sites I mentioned could send you down a deep rabbit hole for a long time, looking at all kinds of stuff about the neighborhood. And if you're ever in a minute where you need just a little break, a little burnout, you want some comic relief, check out hoodmaps.com. You're going to learn a little and laugh a lot. Right before I recorded it, I pulled up the Boston map. And this is the way it labels some of the neighborhoods. Teardownville, Yoga Moms, and Dead Body Disposal Area. My favorite hood map labels where I live in Southern California. One area is called This Is Where the Karens Live. And the other area is just called Tacos. Now, the sites I mentioned, they're not the big boys. They haven't spent billions. But remember, most websites, not just the big guys, Zillow and Homes.com and everyone else, most of them have some sort of agenda to exist, and they likely exist to sell you something. So make sure you cross-reference often. Now, another thing that people want to research online is schools and crime. Now, due to the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which was updated in 1974 and 1988, that prohibits realtors from discriminating against anything that has to do with race, color, national origin, religion, sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity, familial status, or disability. So that means that in the past, you had to do a lot of research for crime in schools on your own because the laws, they were created to end the horrendous previous discrimination practices of steering, or what we call redlining. That was keeping certain people out of certain areas. Well, that's gone, and obviously that's a good thing. But it made it difficult for realtors to talk about stuff. So now there's this update that happened right here at April 24th, 2026. HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, they clarified that real estate professionals do not violate the Fair Housing Act merely by sharing objective crime rate or school quality information consistently and without any discriminatory intent. So what you can do is now, in 2026, you can start by asking your realtor, and then you can do your own deep dive if you so choose. For crime stats, the best information, it's on your local sheriff or police sites. And here's a warning, though. You know, the local government sites, they're government funded. So that means they're usually geo sites, super outdated, clunky, and really tough to navigate. But the truth is, this is where you're going to find your most accurate information, and you're getting it straight from the source. There are other sites out there if you're looking for crime stats: Crime Reports, Family Watchdog, Crime Grade, and Spot Crime. Another good one is City Protect, which is a massive internet crime map, and it's run by Motorola, and it works in concert with 1,000+ police departments across the United States. And the last one, this is one I learned 27 seasons ago from my girl, Olivia Benson, Megan's Law. That's the public website where you can see the registered sex offenders living in or around a neighborhood that you're considering. I've even had some buyers go straight to the FBI for crime reports. Next, school information sites. You can get stuff on the big boys, but there are other places you can go to. And this is important for everybody. It doesn't matter if you have kids, want kids someday, or never plan on having kids, because school district data, that is important to know as a home buyer, because this affects home values. Good school districts, they're at a premium. And then on the flip side, I've seen buyers who didn't want kids look at the school districts that maybe weren't in the top ratings because they found out they could get a much better deal on a home there. For a quick overview, check out Zillow and Redfin. For a deeper comparison, you can use greatschools.org, Neighborhood Scout, and niche.com that I mentioned earlier. But when it comes down to offer time, before you start thinking about making an offer using a boundary map from someplace else, never do that. Go directly to the school district and confirm that the exact address is actually assigned within the school boundaries that you think it is. Only ever verify an address with the school district site because those school boundaries change all the time. Another great tip that a lot of people don't actually end up doing is if you're looking for specific city information or even tract information within a little suburb or a little area, Google the cities and the tracts themselves. Read the local newspapers or the blogs and look for reviews of the city or the areas. I even know people who have scoured Craigslist to see what the garage sale activity is like. There are a lot of different ways that you can get stalky when you're looking at cities and neighborhoods. And I'm going to offer this advice. Avoid Nextdoor, Citizen, Facebook groups, or Reddit groups. Just let me save you the time. These groups are so toxic, and like 90% of it is just people complaining, and that could probably slant your opinion on what might be a perfectly lovely neighborhood. And speaking of Reddit, side note, never go to Reddit for advice on buying a home or getting a home loan. God bless everyone for trying to help each other out, but 90% of it is wrong because they're getting and giving advice to each other. And it's just not the right information because they're working with, those 90% of the realtors or lenders who don't know what they're doing. So it's just bad information, sharing bad information to everybody else. That's the reason I started this podcast. And maybe in a few years, the revolution will be in full force and we'll be able to talk to each other on community level because everyone's going to be using the right unicorn style real estate team. If you gotta use social media, fine. Check out TikTok and Instagram. But remember, controversial content, polarizing stuff, that's what gets more views. So most of the stuff you see about any neighborhood, it's clickbait. And that provocative hot take, a lot of times is just BS. All right, now we're going to get into the deep tech stuff. This pro tip works for neighborhoods and specific homes. But the good news about it is that you can go full on creepy stalker using an old friend that you use every day, but not at this level. Google Maps. Yes, Google Maps. You want to get super stalky? Become a Google Maps pro. Use the maps, the street view. There's Google Earth and satellite views. There's layers. There's 3D view, traffic information, and tons more. In 2026, Google added a brand new feature that takes this Google Maps stalking from regular old creepy stalking to time travel stalking. And you don't have to do anything weird or illegal. There's a new feature on Google Maps called historical imagery. I checked before I recorded, and it's not everywhere yet. But when you're in Google Maps, check your search and look to see if you can find historical imagery. It's going to be on Earth or the satellite view. It's really cool, because you can use a time machine and you can check out things like, has the neighborhood changed? Has the street parking become more or less crowded? Have trees gotten bigger or disappeared? Do multiple dates show recurring water pooling or drainage trouble during those times of the year when there's a lot of water? Has the roads or the intersections or the traffic patterns changed? And on specific homes, you can go way back and see, oh, wait, was there an addition or a garage conversion or a deck or a retaining wall or an ADU that wasn't there a few years ago? You can even look to see if the home looked dramatically different before it got listed. And maybe if I figure out, oh, that was a flip and it did not look the same. And while you're in there in the satellite views, do a full perimeter sweep. Don't just look in the backyard. A lot of people use it just to kind of peek in the backyard. What you can do is you can start zoomed in on a specific home and then zoom out. Do a quarter mile and a half mile and a full mile view. Use it to scout the neighborhoods. That way you can figure out, where are the railroad tracks? Where are the freeway ramps? What about airport approaches? You can check for privacy, drainage channels and retention ponds, school or stadium lighting, apartment or commercial parking lots behind the backyard, hillside drop-offs, shared driveways or alleys, or you can even check to see if the neighbor's second-story window or deck is overlooking your backyard. And get familiar with the 3D imagery. It's available. You can tilt and rotate the map. You can also use a measuring device they have so you can measure distance. It's a great feature to help you calculate straight line distances. That way you can figure out, how far away are those stadium lights from that school over there or the train tracks from your backyard. And with everything, remember, Any image, old or new, it's not a proof of a problem. It just gives you a better question to ask. And make sure that you're doing this on your desktop or your laptop. I know that a lot of you do all your research on your best friend, your phone, but I recommend that when you're at work, you just go ahead and completely ignore all your obligations there and use that big desktop computer to get way into Google Maps. But don't get fired because you have to have a job to buy a house. And then there's this one. If you haven't used Street View before, time to get proficient at it. Drag that little person into the map, and then you can explore neighborhoods from the street level. Don't just look at the fronts of the homes. Look at the curbs, the sidewalks, the driveways, the trees, the parked cars, the roofs, the paint jobs. You can move down the street and turn in circles. You can look behind the houses and around the corners, and you can compare old images there too, because this one also has a time machine. Click See More Dates. You can get so deep with Google Maps. Just remember, these images are absolutely not a full diagnosis of the neighborhood. You're just creating questions for your realtor, your inspector, or for the seller, or maybe even for the city. And speaking of the city, research what the neighborhood may be becoming. The homes on the street might look perfect today, but if there's a bunch of empty lots behind them, they could be under review for apartments or commercial development or, a circus. So you can research that because many city planning commissions publish project lists and check city council agendas, state or local transportation departments. They will tell you about projects they've got upcoming, municipal capital improvement plans, metropolitan planning organization project lists, school district boundary proposals, and there are parks and recreation master plans and even utility infrastructure projects. You can even create Google alerts. Do it for an exact address, a subdivision name, for a condo or a building, an HOA, or even major cross streets, proposed developments that might be coming, or just the city itself. At this point, if you're not a little creeped out at how much you can do with Google Maps, well, then you're probably doing the dishes and not paying attention. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to help you get super stocky on the very specific home and address that you're eyeballing. Starting with the listing photos. In the tons of interviews I've done here on how to buy a home, there's one big thing I hear from buyers all the time. Don't believe the listing photos. And that actually goes both ways because sometimes they're way too sneaky and they use all the right angles to oversell the home. But sometimes, I don't know what they're thinking. They just take super crappy pictures and they massively undersell a home, and it could be worth a look in person. But here's something you can do with those photos. Take the listing photos and run them through Google Lens or Google's About This Image feature. These tools can find images using that image to find historical photos. Maybe you're going to find a picture that is the same area in a pre-renovation condition, or photos showing a feature that used to be there that has been since removed. And then this is one a lot of buyers do, but I want to make sure you understand how to use this in the most efficient way, figuring out the commute time using Google Maps. A 10-mile commute can be easy in one market and absolutely miserable in another. And keep in mind, your home, it's not just a mortgage payment. It's location. That's important. It's every hour that you're going to spend getting to and from that location for the next 5 to 10 years. So you can create a personal Google My Maps project. You can use separate layers for each candidate home. That way you can check commutes to work, to school, to childcare, to the grocery store, medical care, whatever you want. And here's your tip. Check by commute time, not the mileage. There's a feature where you can use depart at or arrive by. Use that and test multiple different times, mornings and evenings on both weekends and weekdays. And if you're near a school, make sure you check those school drop-off times, especially in the afternoon. You can also check out public transit plus the walk time to the public transit. And you can even check your backup routes. Okay, since we're talking about estimating driving through the neighborhoods, I'm going to drop a little tangent here because the internet's awesome, but nothing beats getting off your ass and doing some IRL exploring too. If you can't sleep, take a drive. Great to go out and see your neighborhood at 2 a.m. You probably want to see what it looks like at that time of day anyway. Or if your baby can't sleep, the car seat always knocked mine out. Take a drive. If you got to go to work every day, but some neighborhoods are close, cool, drive a different path to work every single day. Explore different neighborhoods. Stop at a 7-Eleven or a Starbucks closest to the homes that you're looking at. Take a look at what's close. Are there places where you would eat, where you would shop? Do you like the look of certain streets? What's that big empty lot over there? Nothing beats some real-life reconnaissance to really get to know the neighborhood. Find all the local parks or the hiking trails. And here's a tip. Be sure to drive with the windows down and your music off. And just listen. Which is a good segue into our next online research tool, the Federal National Transportation Noise Map Models. And the FAA will provide airport noise exposure information. You've also got the Federal Railroad Administration, which has a rail crossing locator, and the PHMSA, the Public Pipeline Viewer. It shows certain transmission pipelines and related facilities. Once again, use all the stuff at your discretion. These maps and everything you find, they are screening tools. No one's placing microphones in the backyard to figure out how noisy it is. Now, another big thing that people are looking into is sunlight and shadows. Natural light. Difficult thing to evaluate if you're just looking at a home on a Saturday afternoon during an open house. The online tools you can use include Google Project Sunroof for roof sunlight and solar potential where, you can get solar panels. It's a really good thing to check out. SunCalc, that's the sun's path by date and location. These tools are awesome because they can help you figure out morning light, west-facing afternoon heat, winter shade, balcony sunlight, gardening potential if you want to plant stuff, and of course, that's solar exposure for your solar panels. And you can use these sites to test the sun exposure. And I always tell people test for different times of the year. The very minimum, test the mornings and the afternoons in the winter and the summer when you're going to be the biggest extremes. And again, these sites don't take into account if somebody chopped down a tree or if a big tree just got planted. So make sure you check it out, but verify. And this next online tool might seem a bit over the top, especially if you're buying in the suburbs. But if you're a remote worker or a rural buyer or a multi-generational household or, a gamer, this one's a must-do. You can check the internet provider options by using the FCC National Broadband Map. That allows address-level searches for fixed providers, the technology types, the advertised speeds, the fees, the data allowances, and other key terms in a standardized format. Okay, now we're going to get into let's call it the hardcore section of your online research. Most buyers, if you got a good realtor, you can ask them to research all the things I'm going to go through right now and show you where to get that information someplace else. But most of the time, your realtor or your title company, they're usually going to have all the answers to find the things I'm about to chat about. But if you want to investigate an exact address of a home like it owes you money, here's the tools to do it. Most people just type the address into Google and scroll through the pages, and that's where they stop. But Google supports exact phrase searches limited to a particular website or a domain, exclusions, and PDF searches. Here's how you do it. You ask Google or AI to give you a repeatable address search stack. A repeatable address search stack. And some of the things you spit out for you are like 123 Main ST, 123 Main Street, and different variances there. Or it might say 123 Main Street rezoning. Or one of the ones I saw was site:city.gov 123 Main Street. Now, when you do this repeatable address search stack, when you ask Google or AI to give it to you, it lists like 25 of them. I'm not going to tell them all right to you right here, so go try it yourself. And then you can repeat the process instead of using the address, using the assessor's parcel number, which is also called the APN. That's the parcel ID. Because the government records, they may be indexed under the parcel number rather than the street address. And then, once again, you want to go straight to the source, you can check out the clunky and super ugly government websites. This is where a lot of times you have to go, especially if you're looking for that permit research. And let me tell you, online permit research can get messy. And this is where I've seen buyers, they jump to the wrong conclusion fast. Homes are sold every single day with non-permitted renovations. It is not illegal to sell a home with unpermitted work. So when we're talking about permits, this is the buyer beware territory. Don't rely on paperwork or a government website to tell you if the home can or can't be sold. No permit appearing online does not automatically mean that the work being done or that's already done on the house is illegal in any way. It also doesn't mean that it's unsafe work or that the home's a money pit. A lot of times, these government sites, the records can be very incomplete. There might be old work that may predate the digital system, in fact, and the rules vary and things get grandfathered in all the time. So ask your realtor and your inspector if you have questions about a specific permitting issue. Now we're going to get super nerdy here. Again, a good realtor and a good title company, they should be giving you all this information. But if you want to do it yourself, you can check out the county GIS. That's the Geographic Information System. And you can also search the county assessors, the county permitting, the zoning, and the code enforcement systems. You can look at the county parcel viewers. You can also find property lines, aerial images, zoning, land use, utilities, and hazard information. You can find stuff about the lot. You can also find out, like I mentioned earlier, if they've got open, expired, or finalized permits. You can check on home additions, enclosed patios and garage conversions, pools, decks, and the ADUs that I talked about earlier, the accessory dwelling units. And I know some of the people who really get into this, they not only check the permits and the zoning on their home, they check the neighboring parcels to make sure that something can't be built around them that they're not into. Okay, the next one. This is a little bit of a tip for something that you're going to need to do anyway, but if you want to get started online, insurance. Because in recent years, homeowners insurance has gotten more difficult and more expensive. So be sure that you obtain the address-specific insurance information early before you get deep into a contract. That's address specific. Each address has different insurance quotes, and you got to get that right away. If you want to, you can check FEMA. They have a flood map service center, and there are also broader hazard risk tools. There are things like wildfire or coastal tools. But you always have to make sure you check what your insurance pro says, because a red score on a government site is not an automatic no for insurance, just like a green score is not an automatic guarantee. These maps, these sites, they start the conversation. To get the real answers, that's where you're going to talk to your insurance agent, get a quote. You're going to look at the disclosures. You're going to look at the local records. And of course, you're going to look at the inspections, and that will finish things for you. And this next researching, it falls under the same guiding principle. Your realtor should be able to get this information for you. But if you want to look up the use for the soil for rural hillside or septic properties, you could check the USDA's Web Soil Survey. That's going to give you soil maps and data covering most U.S. counties. It can help you screen for hydric soils, drainage characteristics, shrinks. It can help you screen for hydric soils, drainage characteristics, shrink swell concerns, or septic-related limitations. And there's more. You could check out the state geological surveys, the landslide maps, the septic records, the well logs, even topographical information. They're just screening layers. It's no substitute for a specialized inspection, especially if you've got something going on where you need to check out the septic, the geo, the engineering, or any of the geotechnological stuff that's on the property. And if you're on a crazy hillside, you got lots of water running through it and rivers and stuff, make sure you check the neighboring lots as well. Each neighboring parcel number, check those out for their permits, their zoning, and their planning. And since we're in the nitty-gritty, let's talk about taxes. Now, if you want to, you can do a full tax search on your own using the parcel number, and then you could find the current official county tax bill. But a good lender is going to do that for you on each individual address that you're interested in, because the taxes change for each individual address. And they know how to take the address, put it into the county website, and analyze all the mumbo jumbo on that tax site, and then give you the monthly or annual number. And I mean, most of the time, that's pretty much all you're looking for anyway. And I know we're getting way into it right now, but I got one for you uber paranoid researchers now. And no judgment when I say uber paranoid. You do you. I'm just trying to give you a tip here to save you hours and hours of researching how to do this stuff. Here's the bonus hacks. If you want to do research on a condo or a townhome or an HOA, Google this. How do I build a condo or townhome or HOA dossier for fill in the blank? Put the name of the condo, the townhome, or the HOA there. How do I build a condo or HOA dossier for fill in the blank? You're going to get a huge list of items. Now, what you do is you send that to your realtor and then you ask them, hey, this is everything it says I'm supposed to know about. So what on this list are we supposed to get from the seller in this transaction? And what are we not going to get? And when you get the list of things you're not going to get, then you follow the instructions on Google or AI to find that stuff. Speaking of AI, again, this is a judgment-free zone here. I don't care how you feel about AI, but I do want to offer a warning for 26 and 27 because Zillow and Redfin have just launched some new AI tools that are supposed to help first-time homebuyers. They're called, quote, conversational search. What it does is it allows users, people who want to buy a home, to just describe their home preferences right into the AI. And then it's going to let AI give them the answers and you start a back and forth conversation. Like you'd say, hey, show me 2 or more bedroom homes in Cozy Town, California with big backyards. And then it starts showing you stuff. And then you go, oh, show me ones with yards even bigger than that. My recommendation, you don't want to miss your dream house by relying too heavy on tech. So for now, stick to the old-fashioned search and scroll technique. That way you're going to see everything. You're not just going to get fed the homes that an AI wants to show you. All right, that's a list of all the deep dive sites that the professionals use. Now I want to give you some big, fat red flag warning of the sites that will not help you in your home buying research. And there are a lot of people out there who are using that realtor and lender pay-for-play business model I told you about to fund their website. And they want to get you connected with someone who is not a first-time homebuyer specialist. And they're using all kinds of different tricks that seem like they're educational or helpful, but they're not. They're even using cash back as an incentive. But all right, maybe they'll give you $500, $1,000, or $2,000 back if you save for a couple of years. But you could lose tens of thousands of dollars working with unqualified representation. Or worse, you could lose out on getting your offer accepted on your dream home because you got stuck with their realtor or lender who couldn't get the deal done. So here's the sites to look out for. Any government sounding site that ends in .com and not .gov. There's a site called HUD, HUD.com, not government affiliated. There's also FHA.com, USDAloans.com, or VAloans.com, not government sites. Next, any site, even ones that look legitimate, like I found SoFi and Chase sites that were offering cash back or rebates or reward points, like mileage points. They're offering closing cost credits or mortgage discounts. If you use their platform to plan, to save, to search for homes, to get pre-approved, to compare your loans, or of course, to contact an agent or a lender. Make sure you read the fine print on these because those benefits that they give you, they require you to use a paid to be there realtor, lender, or other provider from that company's referral network. You get a non-vetted, non-first-time homebuyer specialist. Other popular ones out there are Gravy Rewards, Home Story Rewards, Clever Cashback, Rocket Mortgage / Redfin Compass Credit, and RebateAgent.net. And a whole bunch more. And I get it. I understand. Cashback sounds cool, but it's just a trap. And it's just come up in the last few years. And you've got the option yourself to hire the best out of every realtor and lender in town. So why would you limit yourself? It's way too big a purchase to try to get some little small discount in the grand scheme of the big picture of how much you're going to save when you've got the best pros in town working for you. I know everyone out there is looking for a deal. I'm sorry, gang, these are just too good to be true. They're all the websites out there that are made for investors, like auction.com, Zome Auctions, Hubzu, and foreclosure.com, and Housing List. Any home that looks like it's going to give you a deal, that home's going to get scooped up by a professional investor with all cash who's doing this for multiple homes all year long. I know that you'd be excited and you think you're going to find something there, but these sites are not for average first-time home buyers and will only completely slant your understanding of home values as well as how the home buying process works. For a standard, regular, primary residential home buyer, which is you. They're not scams. It's just the danger is thinking that they're ordinary home search sites filled with secret deals that Zillow and your realtor somehow missed. And finally, make sure that you ignore all of the rent to own and alternative path to home ownership databases and websites. Yeah, maybe some of them can work, but if you follow the steps of a last lease ever program for a year or two, that math favors you working a strategic plan and buying when it's right for you with no strings attached. All right, I know this episode is all about you using the internet, but once again, before I go, want to reiterate, during your planning period, make a habit of driving and exploring neighborhoods in person. Get your coffee, your groceries, or see a movie in neighborhoods that you're considering. Take the side streets, look at the curbs, check out all the cars. Are they newish? Or are they older models or rust buckets with cracked windows? A lot of times older cars can mean maybe there's a bunch of renters on the in the block or on the neighborhood. What you're looking for is pride of ownership in the neighborhood and in a good proximity to other things that you like. And here's another tip I want to offer. Buy an old school paper map and a box of crayons. When you're out there researching neighborhoods, color in areas red, yellow, and green. And then put the map by your computer. And when a new address pops up, you can see where it lands in your real world research for stop, maybe, or go. And remember the golden rule when you're doing all your research online. An old picture, that's not proof. A map line, that's not an official survey. And a funky online history, that's not an accurate insurance quote. Every online red flag doesn't become something to make you stop looking at something. It's just a yellow sticky note for your unicorn team to verify. Don't let one scary map, rating, score, or description eliminate homes. Once you get the hang of it, you'll start to feel things and you'll start to get more comfortable. And then you'll start to see, oh, you know what? It goes the other way too. Because one pretty listing page, don't let that sell you on a home. Because you'll find out that listing page, a lot of times it's not the real deal. And finally, remember this. That computer, it's not the end of your research. Because sometimes the photos suck, but the house is awesome. And sometimes the photos are awesome and the house sucks. Okay, I gave you a lot of information. Don't go crazy on this. Get active on steps 1 through 5. Do that, and you're going to be so far ahead of most aspiring first-time homebuyers. It's going to be a great deal for you. Keep learning, gang. Confidence is the key. 2 more steps to go. You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyaHome.com to get started.